our lesson on the basic conversation. And now we're left with only few of the introducing yourself. So once we're done with introduction to yourself, we're going to cover other fields. So today we have just a small portion. Uh, so introducing your family members. So uh, what we will do is I will ask the students about the lessons that we have already covered in the previous classes and see how much have been retained and how we can actually use them in our day-to-day life. So let's see how many of you can actually use it. So we started from introducing ourselves to now introducing the family. So let's see how well we can remember all of these lessons. And so let me just share this. Let me just go here. So this is the file. So those of you who are able to see it clearly through the screen recording, please continue with the screen recording. Those who are not able to see it clearly through the screen recording may open this file on any screen that you're using. So just not this. So go here. Yes. So those of you who are able to see it clearly on this screen sharing may continue viewing this on the screen sharing. Those of you who are not able to do that may open the file that I have sent in the chat. Okay, so today we're going to learn how to ask for someone else's the name of someone else's family member. So we're going to learn this and then how you call how different family member is called in Tibetan. So definitely we don't have every one of them because normally the thing is that in Tibetan tradition, everyone in a village is supposedly a family member. We have people who belongs to the inner circle of the family member, meaning those who are the more closer family members, and then those who are like further relatives. So therefore, but here what I have done is that I have written all of the family, the terms for all of the family members that are commonly used. So therefore, we don't have all of the way to address each and every family member, but we have the ones we normally use. So therefore, okay, so now let's begin with the lesson. So first person, Kansa Tangbo. 这是的嘞，指令啦，这是的嘞，指令啦。So you can pronounce it as Tsering or Tsering. So both of them are correct. You can either say Tsering or Tsering. 这是的嘞，指令啦。So this is greeting someone. So whenever we meet someone, though it be someone that we know or someone that's new, we greet them first before initiating a conversation. So Like we discussed, one of the best greetings that we have in Tibetan is Tashi dele. So Tashi dele Tsering la. Kangsa niba, second person. Tashi dele. Tashi la. Kirang kukam sangam. So this particular phrase, that is Kirang kukam sangam, which is how are you doing? Kukam means your physical state of health. Sang means to be good. So Kirang kukam sangam, meaning how is your physical state of being? So how are you physically? Are you feeling well? Do you feel good? How is your body health? So that is Kirang kukam sangam. And you see that there is this particular particle here, ngam, which converts the entire phrase into a question. So Kirang kukam sang ngam. So the usage of that particular particle, what it does is that it changes the entire statement into a question. So normally you have heard this, normally when you study the Tibetan colloquial system, you have heard the inquiry, that is, Kirang debo himpe. Kirang debo himpe. Right? So Kirang debo himpe. So this is the addition of the final addition of another particle, which changes it into a, it's more like, it's not a question to say when you use pe. It's more like an incomplete sentence, which encourages you to complete it by giving it a answer. So it's more like an incomplete sentence, which urges you to complete it by giving an answer, rather than being an actual question particle. Whereas here, it is not in that manner. It is rather that the particle itself makes it into a question. This ngam, it's a question particle. It can be used for other different cases, but in this particular setting, it becomes a question because it comes at the very end of the statement. So Kirang kukam sangam. This is a question. So it's same as saying Kirang debo yimpe. So this is something that you must have heard. If those of you who have already learned Tibetan prior to this class, you have heard this statement, Kirang debo yimpe. And Kirang debo yimpe is a statement that asks someone if they are fine or if they are doing well, or if how are they doing. And the answer is, normally the answer is nga debo yin. So we answered this question also similarly. So the question is, Kirang kukam sangam la nga debo yin, which means yes, I am fine. So here well is more of a honorific. So before attempting to, like we said, before attempting to answer, we acknowledge that we have heard the question from the other person. So la debo yin, I am fine. So normally when we also ask Kirang debo yimpe, we will answer la debo yin. So similarly, Kirang kukam sangam, also answered as la debo yin. You never use kukam for your own self because it's using honorific for self, which is something that is not done. So therefore, instead of saying nga kukam sangbo use, you say nga debo yin, which means I'm fine. Tsering la kusu setang yinnam. So This is another way to ask someone. So both of these, the first one and the second one, you see that both of these use honorifics. And it's a very beautiful way of asking someone if they are fine. It's with respect. So Tsering la. So we're asking to Tsering. So Tashi is asking to Tsering. Tsering la. Kusu. Tsering la kusu setang inam. Kusu. Very similar to Kukam. Talks about the physical body. So kusu, body. Sel tang means fine or good. So actually tang is doing well, which is to be healthy. And sel tang, sel and tang both have similar meaning, which means to have a good health. So kusu sel tang means good health. So they're asking, are you doing good? Or is your health good? So whenever you ask someone how they are doing, instead of saying "Kena depo ibe," you can either say "Kena kusung kukam sangam," or you can say "Kena kusu sedang inam." So these are two other ways to ask them how they are doing. So, Tsering la, how are you doing, Tsering la? So this is what they're asking. So now, the person that's answering it says, "La nga de tao chuing." So this is another way to answer the questions or inquiry which is related to how are you doing. You can either say "nga de po yin," which means I'm fine, or you can say "nga de tao chuing," which means I'm doing great. Meaning I'm not only just doing fine, I'm doing great. So you can say "nga de tao chuing." So la nga de tao chuing. So la, acknowledging the question and then answering it as I'm doing great. So now whenever someone asks you, like whenever you want to ask someone, so let's say someone asks you, "Oh, can I debo impe?" Then you can say "La nga debo yin" or "La nga de tao juin." And then if you want to make it like a little more, even a little more polite than this, you can just add "katinche" or "tucheche" at the end, which is saying thank you. Thank you for your concern for my health, or thank you for taking the time to ask about my health. So it's a gesture of gratitude. So thanking someone, saying, "Oh, thank you very much for asking. I'm doing very well." So that's taking it one more level up to make it even more polite. So just add "tucheche" at the end or "katinche." Lasso. Kerang kukam depo, kerang kukam sangam. La nga depo yin. La nga de tang chue yin. Kerang kusu sedang yin. La nga depo yin. La nga de tang chue yin. So you see that both of these have the same answer. The answers are quite the same, but they have little variation. Then kerang kukam sangam. La nga depo yin. Katin che. Kerang kukam. Kerang kusu sedang yin. So you see that we can also ask them how they are feeling. Well, I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Okay. So then to this point, we see how we answer to the inquiry about our health. when someone makes an inquiry about our health, saying how we are doing. I have a so then now Tashi has a question, and he wants to ask, Tsering la tering tuwa shi Tsering la la tering tuwa shi yu. Tsering la la tering tuwa shi yu. Tsering la la tering tuwa shi yu. I have a question for you today, Tsering la. So we're asking Tsering la. So this is actually a way to. It's not only a way to. This may seem as if we're not asking the other person if we could ask them a question, but this is actually a way that is normally how it is done. It's in the Tibetan language. Sometimes we don't ask if we could ask them a question. What we simply do is we say, oh, I have a question, which inferentially tells the other person if that the person is asking them the permission to ask a question. So instead of saying, may I ask you a question, which definitely you can also say in Tibetan, sometimes we just say, oh, I have a question for you. And then the other person understands it as a request or as a inquiry for the permission to ask questions, and they respond accordingly. So therefore, even though this may seem as a statement saying that I have a question, and that it may not seem a way to ask the other person whether they can ask it or not, but it actually has an inferential understanding that the person is asking a permission to ask the question. So, Tsering la la tering tuwa shi yu. Lao song tang. So you see that here, Tsering la has responded by saying, yes, please ask away. So that is giving the permission to ask. So Tsering la understood that he was Tashi la was asking for the permission to ask a question. In other cases, you may also encounter similar phrase, but saying something like, "Oh, Tsering la la chuwa shi kur chokpa che." Now that is a direct question. That is the most apparent question that has a request in it. So this particular statement is a request. It's a direct request. So it is a request. So in which there is a request. But in the former one, which is written here, you don't see any request, but it is inferential. So you can say, "Oh, Tsering la tari tuwa gu chokpa che." Gur chokpa che. Gur means to ask. Chokpa is a permission. Gur chokpa che. So you can also say it in that manner. But we're going to deal with questions in a very different lesson. So afterwards, not here, we'll deal with questions. So questions will also be a part of this course, which is basic conversation, but we will deal with this later because they are more specific to the theme that is the question itself, but rather than the context of things like introduction or other things. So inquiry and questions will be in a different lesson, which we will cover during the course. Lasso. So Tsering la answered, Lao sung tang, which means yes, please ask away. So please ask. So the please comes from the sung, which is honorific of lap. Lap tang. Xie tang. Hua tang. So jue tang. So there are many variations to say or to ask. But here we have used the honorific sung tang, which means please ask away. So Tashi asked first person kansa tangbo. Kenangi palaki tsela kangaretam. What is the name of your father? Or what is your father's name? Kerangi palaki mingla kangaretam. So here, this particular sentence has nothing wrong grammatically. Nothing wrong, but still, when it comes to making a sentence sound good, we see that there are too many, just too many. We have too many particles here. And that's a problem that you will encounter, that you will understand later on, that too many particles, though grammatically correct as they are, ruins a sentence when we read them. So too many particles in here. But this is not a wrong sentence. When you want to talk in the context of, when you want to talk in the context of, when you want to talk about it in the context of grammar, there's nothing wrong in the sentence. But there are just too many connective particles. But so what is the name of your father, or what's your father's name? La. So Tsering La answers La. Nye pala ki ming la tundrup sirki yu. So this can be done in few ways. He could have said Nye pala ki ming la tundrup re. Or he could directly say Nye pala ki ming la tundrup sir. Or sirki yu. So all of these are correct. You can either take this to away and just end it here, or you can just erase all of this and just write re, or you can use it like this. So all of these three variations are correct. La nye pa la ki ming la tuntu sirki yu. La. So whenever you say la, you just pause for 1 or 2 seconds, and then you continue saying nye pa la ki ming la tuntu sirki yu. My father's name is Tuntu. Kansa tangpo, first person. Lasso. Nye pa la ki targe gyune mi mangbu ngoshe ser songwe in. So now Tashila is telling why he asked this particular question. He said, Nye pa la ki targe gyune mi mangbu ngoshe ser songwe in. It's because I asked because my father told me he knows many people from Targegun. So he thought that he might know Tsering La's father. So therefore, Tashila asked this particular question at this very moment. So the reason why Tashila asked was because his father told him that he knows many people from the hometown of Tsering La, which is Targegun. Then Tsering La answers Lasso, which is okay. So now you see that this is how you ask for someone's. So normally there are other ways you can begin, but just by asking if whether the person lives alone or with family and how many family members they have. But all of these comes later in the conversation when you have known the person for a while. So you can ask for their family, the name of their family members, like their parents. So it's quite the same. The structure is same, like we have like we learned before when we had to say my name is right? So another thing that I wanted to ask before we go to the next part of the lesson is, how many of you here use this particular variation of my, that is ngaki? How many of you do use ngaki? So let me just write it here, because this is something that I have seen, and it has made quite an impression on me. Let me just, yes, how many of you use this variation of my? Okay. So anyone else that used this variation of my? Ngaki. There's one person. So only one person. Okay. So
maybe I didn't understand correct.
That's so. So so there's one person who used this, and the thing is that ngaki is not correct, right? It's not correct. It's not correct because nga is uh, a single consonant. It's a single consonant word. What do I mean by that? Is that nga doesn't have any suffix. What is a suffix? Suffix is a consonant that follows another consonant in a name. Let us go back to the previous one. Where is it? Continue this. So as you can see in this particular example, this consonant is followed by this particular consonant. And these type of consonant that follows another consonant are known as suffix. Now the thing is that nga doesn't have any consonant. It is by itself. So any word that is by itself will only be followed by two particles. It's either this or this. So therefore, it's either nge or ngai. And I wanted to point this out because recently I have encountered people claiming this ngaki to be mai in Tibetan, and I was quite shocked because this true in colloquial system they use this. I'm not denying the fact that they use this particular way of saying I, ngaki, in colloquial system. And it is in that manner in the colloquial system, but the thing is that this is grammatically very wrong. Now, you may ask me, if this is grammatically wrong, why does it still persist to exist? And the thing is that it still persists to exist because many are using this, so therefore it still persists to exist. So therefore, if you are using this, understand that this is not correct. So you should either use nge or you should use ngai. And if you do that, it is grammatically correct. And yes, it is grammatically correct. Ngaki is correct in the colloquial system because it is protected by certain regional dialect. So in that context, the thing is that it is still persisting to this very day, but it's always better to be grammatically correct so that it becomes nge. So therefore, please never use ngaki, always use nge, nge or ngai. Say nge kangba or ngai kangba or ngai kangba, which will be the correct way to say it. Therefore, so I wanted to clarify this because it's very good to clarify things in the beginning of learning something, you know. so that if I clarify it now, then later on it doesn't become a very big problem. So therefore, I wanted to clarify this. And there will be, the thing is that those who have studied the colloquial system till this point, as we move on with the conversation class, there will be many things like this where I will have to point it out and say that, oh, you might have learned this, but this is not correct, and we have to use it in this way. And the whole reason is so that you will be able to adapt to the written language and the more colloquial system. Sorry, more written language and more grammatically correct system. That is the point. I'm very sorry. So therefore, that is the reason why. Lasso. So this is how you introduce, ask for someone's family, like a family member's name or something. So here I have written some of the more common and more common family members in Tibetan. There are more, but these are the more common ones. So a father, so when we say father, we either call them, so we're going to use it as pala. So father is pala. Sometimes there is a small ha here, so don't have it confused. It's the same. So pala, which is father. Amala, 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 which is mother. Mepo, 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 or pola, 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 or sometimes you must have heard as pola, 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 means grandfather. This one might have been new to some of you, mepo, which means, which actually not just means grandfather, it means more like the ancestor, you know. Mepo is more like the ancestor than just a grandfather. So mepo, momo, 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 mola, 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 momola, 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 which is grandmother. So it's the grandmother. And then we have ashang, luck, always luck, ashang, ashang. Or sometimes, so ashang is correct, and sometimes you can also hear people saying shashang, which is also correct. Ashang, la, which is uncle. So uncle, in a sense, the brother of one's mother. So uncle as a brother of one's mother. So ashang. Somola, 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 which is aunt as mother's sister. Somola, somola. Akula, 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 which is uncle, but now from father's side. So father's brother. Akula, akula. Anila, 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 which is aunt from father's, which is the sister of father. So aunt from father's side. So father's sister is known as Anila. Jianpo la, jianpo la, jianpo la. Jojo, 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 jojo. So these are elder, these are the ways to address the elder brother. Acha, 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 which means elder sister. Chungmo, 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 singmo, 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 which means younger sister. And finally, chungpo, 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 which means younger brother. So these are the names in Tibetan for the family members that are more common in use. So yes, these are the ones that you will have to learn, and there are many more. So yes, we will introduce some of the other ones later. So yes, these are the family member, and this is how you ask for the names of a particular family. For example, I've used Pala here. You can also say Amala, or you can say Pola, or Momola, or Chempo, or Chungmo, or Aku, or Asham. So yes, this is today's lesson. So before we go to before I start asking questions for today's class, because today we're going to have a small question answer. If there's any questions regarding today's lesson, please ask away. Any confusion or any, for example, if you have any confusion, or if you feel, the thing is that another thing that makes the can make the class interesting is that if you see any contradiction between this particular lesson and the lessons that you have learned in prior classes, those are the things that I truly welcome a lot, because then you can have a session of discussion on why there was contradiction, and you can learn a lot between these type of contradictions. So yes, please ask away any questions, any confusion, any questions, any contradictions regarding today's lesson. Please ask away.
Genla,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
There was a moment when at the end of the phrase, there was a year, but it was about a third person. I think it was about the father.
Okay.
My father's name is, and there was a year at the end.
A Serki.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to ask why.
So
I thought year was only for me.
So Nepalagi Tsela, Nepalagi Mingla Tundru Serki, right? Okay, so you wanted to ask why there is you, because the name belongs to the father, isn't it? And the father should be the third person. So you wanted to ask me, why is there you? Why isn't it re, right? So
yes, right.
Here the thing is that Serki year is a phrase of its own. So here the year doesn't have a lot of leverage on the actual nature of the phrase. It is just an accompanying word with ser at this very moment. So the more power goes to the ser than year. But definitely, normally year belongs to the first person, which is I. So normally it should be used only for the I, or things that belongs to the I, isn't it? But here we have used it with the name of a father. Father's name, which belongs to the father. So therefore, you should not be used here. But here it becomes a special case. So normally I don't like special cases because it contradicts a lot of the things that we have already discussed. But here it's a special case in a sense that yö is just a part of this very phrase that is serki yö. So here we are using the phrase serki yö. So therefore yö came with this. Normally it will be, so therefore normally if you want to use without this particular phrase, you'll say ye pa la ki ming la tundru re, and not yö. It will be tundru re, ye pa la ki ming la tundru re, and that would be the case. But here, because it is a part of an entire phrase that is serki yö, so it just comes as a companion word, and it doesn't have a particular power to it. So that's the reason. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lasso. I hope this actually cleared it up. So therefore, yes, most of the so what I do is that most of the time when I write the script, I make sure that most of them are honorifics. So yes, most of the sentences are honorific. These words, these with la becomes honorific. Yes. So, and most of these, probably most of these are honorifics, which is something that I'm trying to push in use now. I'm trying to make it, we call it a trend. So I'm trying to make honorifics a trend these days. Lasso hintai. Honorifics and written language. I'm trying to bring back that tradition. So therefore, Lasso, any other questions before I go to my questions?
Tanzila, we also use Anila for nuns, right? Like to call a nun. But this Anila would be different, the one that.
Yes, that would be so therefore the thing is that the spelling is same and everything. So if you actually want to not get mixed between them, so I recommend you to use another word for Anila, which is chomola. So
Can you write the spelling in?
Yes, here, chomola. So you can say chomola.
Okay, and Tanzila, the words that you have shared for my, the different variations, like so, their usage is dependent upon something else, or are they like synonymous kind of item?
So we had if you're using more of a written language, then dark would be very good. Dark and ni would be very good. If you're using more of a written language, dark is a good one, and ni, these two, try to use these ones. If you're writing something very casually, then nga is not a problem. Ku is to be humble. If you're saying, oh, humble me, to humble yourself in order to give someone respect. So you say ku, which means, oh, the humble me, or the for me, something like that. Ku, nga. Then you have nge. Nga and nge doesn't really matter how you use it. Ku in a more humble setting. Da and ni if you're trying to speak in more written language.
Okay, and what about the ngai and nga yi, like ngai
So
and
yes, this and this, right? Nge, ngai.
Yes.
So nge and ngai is actually my, so it refers to as my. So you can use both of this. The difference is you can see how I've written it. When I've written nge, you don't see that there is you don't see a dot between nga and hakyukuyi. Whereas when I say ngai, you see that there is a dot between nga and yakyukuyi. So the only difference is the existence of the dot. If you don't want to write the dot after nga, then directly write nga hakyuku nge. If you want to write the dot, then you just write nga yakyuku yi. And this will this difference may not seem significant in a normal writing, but when you are writing poetry in Tibetan, this will make a very significant difference.
How?
Because in poetry, in Tibetan poetry, what we do is that we have this rule which tells us that each line of a particular verse should have same number of syllable. So if we write nge, it becomes just one syllable, whereas ngai becomes two syllable. So in that way, you see that it actually changes a lot. And it also changes how the particular line sounds. In poetry, it's very important to see how something sounds. That's the very definition of poetry. It is the definition of poetry in Tibetan is something that is good, that is beautiful to hear, and mesmerizing to mind, which is called the poetry.
So, also, Tenzila, one more small question. Sometimes we use lasso, sometimes you have written la ho, and I've also seen lesso. What's the difference between all these different variations?
So lasso and laho are same, no difference there. So lasso and laho are the same. There's no difference there. The difference is only lexo. Lexo means excellent or perfect. Normally, when we hear someone saying like, "Oh, I have done what you have said, and this has happened, and that has happened," and you say, "Oh, wonderful, excellent," or you say, "Oh, perfect. This is what I expected." So, lexo means something like well done or perfect. You know, it's a gesture of saying perfect or well done.
Okay, lesso.
Lasso. Okay. So does anyone else have questions? If not, then let me ask you one or two questions related to the lessons we have already done. And this particular lesson of today, the thing is that today we will have a small assignment for the class, the first assignment for this basic conversation class. And those of so therefore I would like to say that there will be a assignment for you to revise for the lessons till this point, and definitely I hope that you'll enjoy the assignments. So now does anyone have more questions regarding lessons to this point? Okay, if no one has questions, then today becomes the day that I will have the opportunity to ask everyone a question. So those who know the answer, let's do it like this. Those who knows the answer, you may just say yes, and then you can answer the question. So the first question is, okay, so what was the interpretation, my personal interpretation, for the phrase Tashi delek? What was my personal interpretation of the phrase Tashi delek? Okay, so who wants to answer that?
I believe today you said that we say tashtile when we greet and when we say goodbye.
And what was my particular interpretation of that very phrase? What was the meaning of that phrase? What do you mean by Tashi and what do you mean by delek?
It means may you be happy.
Thank you for your attempt, but yes, it may mean to be in that way in some sense. But here, I want you to give me my interpretation, the one that I told everyone during the first class, what it means by my own interpretation. So what interpretation did I give?
Was it I wish you happiness and prosperity? Something
Happiness,
like
prosperity. That's the first part. And what about Dilek? The first part is I wish you happiness and prosperity. True. What about Dilek?
Can't recall.
Good health?
Yes. So health, when you say health, does it only refer to physical health?
No, it was both.
Yes. So Tashi Delib, according to my own interpretation, was I wish you a happiness and prosperity with good physical and mental health. That was the reason why I said that Tashi Delib is the best greeting in Tibetan. There is no other greeting that could come near to it when it comes to greetings. So Tashi Delib is a wonderful greeting. Thank you. This is the answer. Now the second question. My second question is, okay, so now you have to, so I will ask you a question in Tibetan. You'll have to give me an answer in Tibetan. Okay. Keranki nguming kang retam. Keranki nguming kang retam. Keranki nguming kang retam. Okay, who wants to answer this? Please answer it.
Let me try.
Yes.
Nghe min là Veronica Sergio.
Lasso. This is the answer. So now the third question is the same statement that I made, which is how can we use the same setting in a, but now we have to say the same thing, but using both honorific and in a formal setting. So how do you say it? It has to be honorific as well as formal. The question is the same. You have to ask for someone's name, but in a formal setting plus with honorific. Okay, so this is honorific, but not formal. So thank you. This is honorific. Is an honorific way of asking someone. Wonderful. But now we have to add the twist of being formal. So this plus formal. So the half part, so the half of the question has already been answered. To make it honorific, you have to use the word ten. But now to make it into a formal setting, in a formal setting where you want to use honorific, how will you ask for someone's name?
Tashi Delek.
Tashi Delek.
Kerang Tukam Sangam. Kerangi Chenla Karishegiye.
Lasso. So Katinche, this is still just honorific. It's the same that was given, the answer which was given before this. These are both honorifics, but not formal. So the way you ask others in a formal setting with honorific is wonderful. Wonderful. So this is how you ask for someone's name with honorific and in a formal setting. Kerangi Tseng Sangpo. Tseng Sangpo. What is your good name? Kerangi Tseng Sangpo Kaina. Lasso. So Kukam-sang. What do you mean by Kukam-sang?
Is good health. What is your health? The question is about health.
So if it's a question, then it's about health. But what if it's only just Kukam Lason? What if you're just wishing someone Kukam-sang?
Yeah, and nam. Adding nam, this is the question.
Now, without the nam, if we just say Kukam-sang, what does it mean?
Just health, good health.
Yes, that means I wish you good health. Lasso. So this now yes.
This would mean only the physical health, right?
Yes, only physical health, not the mental health. So now the question moves towards the honorific. We have given out some of the honorific. Today you will receive 10 more words of honorifics in the group. So we have already done with 20, right? So now the question shifts to honorific. What is the honorific for ears? What is the Tibetan word for honorific for ears?
Yin.
Can you please repeat?
Sanyatanya Nanyin. Sorry, Sanyatanya Nanyin.
Yes, it's Nyen. So this is the honorific for ear. Okay, now what is the honorific for teeth? What is the honorific for the word teeth? So, what is the honorific of the word so, which means teeth?
It is some.
Wonderful. It is sem. Now, what is the honorific for the word I, Chen? Sorry, now I have given the answer here. It's Chen. Okay, what is the honorific for the word forehead? Peko. What is the honorific of the word forehead? Peko. I see.
Bhutan?
It's tel.
Okay.
So the pronunciation of this is a very confusing thing, which is this particular sound. Sometimes it sounds as pa, but in some cases it makes the sound wa. So instead of putal, it is utel, utal. So, and you may ask me, oh, in that case, how will I know when to do this? And the only thing I can say that I can give you certain rules regarding this, but you'll just have to get used to those words, you know, where it sounds wa and where it sounds pa. Okay, so this is the question answer for today, and your homework. I'm going to send you an assignment. It won't be a long assignment, but it will be a very enjoyable assignment. So it will have everything you have learned till this point, just to just to do a little bit of reevaluation of what you have understood and what you will have to study again, so that we can keep up the progress through this session. So therefore, please continue revising whenever you can. Ask questions in the group, and the assignments can either be submitted through the email, class email, or what you can do is you can send them to me directly through WhatsApp or in the group, whichever feels better to you. You can do that. And answer keys won't be provided. During the next conversation class, I will be reading the answers. So please try to submit all the assignments before the next conversation class, which is, I think, if I'm not wrong, on Saturday. So we still have two days till Saturday. So therefore, please do that. I will send the assignments by tomorrow. So you'll receive it by tomorrow noon. So send me the assignments back. Those who send me through WhatsApp, there's a better chance for me to for it to be checked before. Those who send me through the email, yours answer might be delayed for a few hours. So therefore, if you send it through email, I will respond all of those assignments in one go. So therefore, it will take a little more time. If you send it to me through WhatsApp, it will be addressed much quicker, few hours quicker in comparison. So therefore, please choose whichever mode you want to send me the assignment. And this is it for today. Please continue practicing, and I hope that today's class was beneficial, and I will see you on Saturday. Tashi and have a good evening to everyone, or good day to everyone. That's all.
Trên là
That's all.
ba là trên